Last I checked, Amazon Prime doesn't deliver babies, I scoffed, shaking my head in disbelief. My mother-in-law proposes or something else. I'm supposed to become a surrogate for my sister-in-law. Crossing awkward boundaries just hit a whole new level. My mother-in-law demanded I give my baby to my sister-in-law as a birthday present. Then she exposed me in a live video, and now she's being badly trolled. I don't know if anyone can relate to my problem or has even heard of such a thing. It feels so bizarre to even write this. This whole mess is about my mother-in-law and sister-in-law, who is a spoiled brat. My sister-in-law is 29, female, and single. Well, that's not the problem. The problem is she's an entitled woman who cannot take no for an answer. I'm Emily, a 36-year-old woman married to my husband, who is 39, for 11 years. We have 2 kids, an 8-year-old boy and a 4-year-old girl. Though we have a happy marriage, knocks on wood, my pain in the butt is my overly dramatic mother-in-law and overly pampered sister-in-law. Before I tell you more about my situation, let me paint a picture of my mother-in-law and sister-in-law. They are social bees, like those upper-class rich women in soap operas who spend their afternoons at salons and massage parlors and spend the evenings at bars with other useless women complaining about each other. They are women busy in their delusional world. They don't work. All they do is shop and gossip. My father-in-law is busy making money, and these women are busy spending it. Father-in-law is almost a non-existent member of the family, or rather just a cash cow. There is a rumor that the father-in-law has a mistress and the mother-in-law knows about it. So it's kind of a pact between them that he fulfills all their demands without any question, while he gets to have a mistress. I don't know how true it is, but seeing father-in-law's role in the family, it looks like this is true. Otherwise, no sane man would remain quiet at mother-in-law and sister-in-law's stupidity. Coming to my miserable life, so last week, my mother-in-law called and asked me out for lunch, and that too on a Wednesday afternoon. I wanted to say a straight-up no, but it was after a long time that she wanted to meet me, so I discussed an alternate schedule. I asked if we could meet in the evenings for dinner, but, they are busy women in the evenings, busy with friends at the gaming parlor. So it was decided that we meet on Saturday afternoon. I go there in my normal outfit, and she shows up in an utterly shimmery black dress. What a choice for an afternoon lunch, and she comes and criticizes my dressing sense. After we were done with the small talk, she started by asking what we were planning to gift my sister-in-law for her 30th birthday. I was confused because her 29th birthday was just a couple of months ago. I said, her next birthday is like 10 months away. She laughed and said, that's why we need to plan it. Remember what happened this time? She got upset with the gifts you guys gave her. Her birthday just got spoiled. I rolled my eyes like, yeah, of course we spoiled her birthday because we gave her a normal $250 dress and not a premium Zora one with a matching sapphire necklace. She went on to say, to avoid upsetting her, I have thought of a perfect gift which you guys should give to her as her birthday present. And what was that? A baby. That's right. She wanted me to have a baby for her entitled brat. I was aghast. How could anyone even imagine that someone would ask for a baby as a gift? I could not comprehend what she was saying. I had to ask her multiple times if I heard her right. She said, yes, I want you to have the baby and gift it to Tiffany, sister-in-law, as her 30th birthday present. I flipped out. And why do you think I would do that? To cover for your substandard gift this time, you ruined her 29th birthday, so you owe this to her? I stood up and said, I don't owe anyone anything. I'm not a broodmare to breed a child and give it to her. I stormed out of the restaurant. On the way home, I went to pick up my son from his friend's place. When I reached home, my husband asked me what happened between me and my mother-in-law. I asked him what he had been told. My husband knows my mother-in-law and sister-in-law's tantrums, so he doesn't take them seriously. He said, mother-in-law called him and said she suggested a present for Tiffany's birthday, which I refused to give to her, and hence she was mad at me. I said, yeah, she wanted your child to be given as a gift to your sister. Do you want that? For a moment, he thought I was joking and making up the entire thing. He was laughing, rolling on the floor. When I narrated the entire story, he was horrified. He was like, what? Is she even smoking? I made it clear to him that there was no way I was going to accept her demands. My husband pacified me and said, we are not having any more children and we are not giving it to Tiffany. The next day was Sunday. We both were at home, lounging on the couch, enjoying our day off when our mother-in-law showed up at our house. I said I was tired and wanted to rest and headed towards my room. My mother-in-law stopped me and said she was here to apologize for the last day and asked me to hear her out. I felt so relieved that she finally came back to her senses. She said she was sorry for not giving enough context behind her request. She went on to say, "You know Tiffany is turning 30 next year, and she's been single for a long time. It's driving her crazy. She needs a distraction in her life, and a baby would be a good way of keeping her happy. First of all, a baby is a full-grown human being, and not a cotton candy which is bought to keep children happy. If the spoiled brat needs distractions or purpose in her life, why doesn't she seek a job? But no, the princess doesn't work. She doesn't even lift a finger at her house. By the way, she still lives with my in-laws because she doesn't earn. She doesn't do any household chores because her nails would get chipped. If you meet her, you'll understand that her brain hasn't developed since her 14th birthday. The paint of her room is still pink, and she owns innumerable pink dresses. She has no knowledge of the world around her. She doesn't even know the capital city or the president of the country. All she knows is that a huge sum of money just appears on her card, which she blindly spends at the drop of a hat." I said, "If Tiffany is so keen on having a baby, why doesn't she adopt one?" Mother-in-law laughed and said, "Oh, don't be lazy. It's been a while since you have been pregnant, so get the machinery back in action. Adopted babies are such a risk. Who knows what diseases run in their family? With you guys, it's safe. Can't you do this for your little sister-in-law?" I looked, "Would you please say something?" to my husband. He laughed and said that my mother-in-law was being ridiculous in her ask, and that I have a lot of motherly duties and a career to handle, and amidst this, I cannot have a baby. He also said how weird it would sound that her brother is the father of her child. To this, my mother-in-law responded without a blink, "Why not? Maria's daughter-in-law is also a surrogate for Maria's daughter, so what's a big deal if your wife does the same for Tiffany?" I was like, wait a minute, that was surrogacy. Maria's daughter-in-law carried Maria's daughter's child because she couldn't conceive and carry her child. It was a matter of medical condition there. It's not like Tiffany has a problem having a baby. We would have given a thought to carrying her baby, or even making a baby for her if she did. The situation here is different. We have been asked to make a baby as if we are some sort of baby-making machine. My husband suggested Tiffany should find a guy for herself, settle down with him, and have her own family rather than complicating the situation here. Mother-in-law started sobbing and said her little girl had tried so many times to find a man for herself, but you know how sick men are these days. She pointed toward me and said, "You're a lucky woman to have my son, but dating, not everyone is as lucky as you. Tiffany cannot be with an ordinary man, you know. She has high standards. The man needs to treat her like we do." I said, "Yeah, of course. The last man Tiffany dumped was because he didn't buy her an overly expensive Gucci bag." Mother-in-law tried to justify her pampered princess's butt, but I stood up and said, "I feel nauseated with this discussion and I need to rest. And one more time, we are not going to have a kid to gift sister-in-law as a birthday present." After a while, my husband came into the room. He cuddled me and tried to lighten my mood. I asked him what he said to his mother. He said he had made it clear that we are not having any more children and they should stop bothering us. He said mother-in-law stormed out of the house in anger. Evil witch. Can you guys even imagine how ridiculous of a situation I'm facing? I want to bang my head against the wall or bang theirs to knock some sense into them. I mean, seriously, asking you to pop out a baby as a birthday present? What is this, for real? Talk about the gift that keeps on giving and giving and giving. Who knew motherhood came with a side of the human present factory? And let's not even get started on the whole find a man for Tiffany saga. High standards are one thing, but expecting Prince Charming to ride in on a unicorn and whisk her away to a castle made of gold? Yeah, good luck with that. But hey, kudos to you and your husband for standing your ground. No baby-making factories here, thank you very much. And as for mother-in-law and sister-in-law, well, maybe it's time they traded in their tiaras for a reality check. Update 1. Hey all, thanks for engaging in my post. Some of the comments were truly hilarious. You guys are right in saying that sister-in-law is mentally, well, let's just say she's not the sharpest tool in the shed. Even if I feel this way, both my sister-in-law and mother-in-law need to get their brains checked. Maybe they got buried under the pounds of makeup. Had it been any other normal people, they would have backed off with the last conversation we had. But here we are dealing with two maniacs. Until now, it was just my mother-in-law, but now my sister-in-law also got into the picture. I tell you guys, she's 100 times more difficult to talk to because she says she doesn't understand logic. As I mentioned in my last update, my mother-in-law ruined my Sunday with her baby-making pitch. A week later on the next Sunday, bam! She again shows up with her darling doll. Seemed like they had pledged to ruin my day off. Tiffany comes in wearing a skirt and a comfy blouse. This was the first time I had seen her without her teeny tiny skinny clothes, but her hair and nails were done perfectly. My mother-in-law points out and says, "Do you see? Tiffany has already started dressing like a mommy." So this was the reason for her changed dressing sense. Do they think that changing your wardrobe would make you a mommy? Changing your clothes and bam, you're ready to be a mom? Tiffany smirked at me and said, "I'm perfect in whatever I do." And then she rushed to hug her big brother as if he had not met them for ages. Remember I told you she behaves like a 14-year-old cutie pie? She screams as if everyone is standing far apart. When is the good news coming? My husband acted dumb and asked what good news she was talking about. She smirked and said, "I know you want to give me your baby as a surprise gift on my 30th birthday, but Mom's a spoiler. Now I know what your plan is. I'm so excited to be a mommy of a cute little girl. I've already started shopping for her." My husband stopped her in between. Glad he did because I was about to smack her head. He said, "That's not true. We're not going to have any baby. Forget about giving it as a gift." For a long time, she thought he was trying to hide it to not ruin the surprise. How delusional, you see. When she ultimately realized that she was not getting a baby present, she screamed at me, "Why not? You have always been cruel to me. This is your chance to make it even. Come on, go. You guys give me a cute baby girl." I said, "Tiffany, we're not running a baby supply business where you order a cute baby girl and you get one. Do you even know how babies are made?" She mellowed down and said, "You know I have always wanted a baby girl. I have so much love in me that I want to shower on my baby. And you all are depriving me of that. That baby is going to be the luckiest to have me as the mommy. I'm going to raise her as a confident and successful woman. I assure you guys are going to be proud and won't regret a bit." You see, that's why I said you cannot talk to her. This witch is mindless. First of all, do you guys think she's in her right senses to have a baby? She doesn't even understand that I have no control over the gender of my baby. You don't get choices there like a lipstick palette. Second, this witch has never lifted a baby in her arms. When my children were infants, she used to shoo them away because they might spit and soil her hair and clothes. Even now, she doesn't let my daughter come near her because she would mess with her nails and hair. How can you imagine this woman to be changing a nappy or swaddling a baby in the middle of the night? Moreover, I cannot suffer for a grueling 9 months and then bear harrowing delivery pain only to give away my child to this pampered princess and see her turning into a mini version of the entitled rat. Tiffany was still blabbering her case of proving to be a great mother, but I had zoned out in my thoughts, which I wrote above. Suddenly I stood up and said, "Look, Tiffany, I know you would hate me for this. You anyways hate me always, so it doesn't make any difference. I'm not going to have a baby for you. Do you get that? Or should I write it down for you? Because it looks like you and your mother have lost your hearing abilities as well as your brains." My husband gestured at me to go easy, but I had lost my mind at their craziness. I told them that I didn't want any further discussion about this, and that if they still pester me, I would block them from my house. I came to my room and slammed the door. I don't know, I might have overstepped my boundaries, but hey, look at them. I have no words to describe their toxicity. My husband tried to hint that I was outspoken, but I was so mad at everyone that I didn't dare say anything further. He just said that his mom and sister called him a yes man and left. I don't care what they say. He needs to stop being a good person to everyone. This Sunday, I was again prepared for another showdown, but it has been silent, and I want to have it this way. I hope this nuisance ends here. Well, looks like you've got yourself a double dose of insanity in the form of your mother-in-law and sister-in-law. It's like the circus came to town and they're the ringmasters of chaos. I mean, seriously, who in their right mind thinks they can order a baby like it's a pizza delivery? One extra cheesy baby, hold the anchovies, please. And let's not forget Tiffany's grand plans to become the world's best mom overnight. Last time I checked, you can't just sprinkle some glitter and call yourself Mother of the Year. But hey, at least you're standing your ground against this madness. Drawing the line at becoming a baby factory for your sister-in-law's delusions, that's what I call setting boundaries like a boss. And kudos to your husband for not falling for their nonsense and standing by your side. As for your mother-in-law and sister-in-law, well, let's just say they've got a one-way ticket to Crazy Town and no return trip in sight. So here's to hoping they take a long vacation from your life and give you some much-needed peace. Update 2, oh no. How could I ever think this would end peacefully? After the blowout, the next 2 weeks were quiet and peaceful. I felt so relaxed without my mother-in-law showing up at our door. But God, it wasn't silent at all. The hustle and bustle was going on online, about which I had no idea. Tiffany had been defaming me on social media, saying I was ripping off her chance to be a mother. She calls herself a beauty expert and posts makeup videos. She has a decent number of followers on her account. I'm not so active on social media because I have a life beyond screens, 2 kids, and a real job. Anyways, Tiffany claimed that her brother was game with the idea of having a baby for her, but I was the witch denying it. She expressed how she always wanted to become a mother, but since she was single, she's not getting any luck in adoption. Such a lie. They never tried for adoption. Even if they did, I'm sure they wouldn't make it through the adoption interview. Tiffany said all sorts of things to show me in a bad light. She said I was denying giving her a baby because she was unmarried, and I have conservative and rudimentary beliefs. I wanted to reply that I was denying the baby because she's dumb. I didn't know about her hate campaign until my husband's aunt called me to ask why I was doing this to Tiffany. That's when I read everything. It was kind of funny to see how her stupid friends and relatives made me the villain. I mean, even if what she said was true, I still have a right to say no. It's my body and I can't deny it. My husband said to ignore it and that this would pass like a season. I ignored it initially, but how could you not read a public post made against you? We ain't that thick-skinned. I realized she was taking my silence against me and talking trash about me. My friends and I came up with a plan to make Tiffany taste her own medicine. I called up Tiffany and said, I'm deeply concerned by the online campaign you're running against me, and the negativity is spoiling my reputation, so I'm considering bearing a child for you. Yeah, I said this to satisfy her ego. Reputation, my butt. I don't care what she or her stupid followers think about me, but she needed to be put into her place. She's been a pain in my butt for a long time now, and it's time to deal with her. I said, Tiffany, why don't you come over, and we discuss a few things before we proceed. She was over the moon, thinking she defeated me. When she came to my house, I said, since I have agreed to your demands, then why not we go live and inform everyone that you're going to have a baby soon? It would help me wash off the negative reviews, and you would also get good watch time. She's a social media enthusiast, so she agreed immediately. We went live, and I said, I have agreed to have a baby for Tiffany, so let's have some questions for the would-be mama. Tiffany was so happy with her victory that she didn't realize what she was signing up for. I asked, So, Tiffany, tell me what plans you have for the baby. She giggled and ranted, Oh, I'm so excited to be a mama for a baby girl. I've already started shopping for her. I'm going to make her look like a star right from her first day in this world. I'm never going to leave her without makeup. She would always have to look perfect and presentable. I didn't clarify that no one assured her that I would be able to conceive a baby girl, surely. I let the audience tell her about it. Her answer already offended a lot of people, and the video was flooded with negative comments and trolls. But Tiffany was so busy expressing herself that she didn't notice any of it. I said, That's so sweet, Tiffany. But what about the time when the baby is fussy and crying? How are you going to manage? She was like, The girls of our family don't cry, do they? I mean, I have never seen your daughter cry. She's always so cleanly dressed up and so calm. Without making her feel stupid, I said, It's because you have seen her for a very brief period. All babies cry, and behind a clean, well-dressed baby, there are hours of firefighting by the mommy. She said, Then you can take care of the crying and hand it over to me. Then I'll dress her up with cute frilly dresses and matching necklaces and tiaras, and would put makeup on her. I couldn't stop my laughter and said, Tiffany, babies cry days and nights. Are you saying you're going to bring her to me whenever she cries and then take her back when she stops? She yelled out, Yeah, that's right. Why not? I couldn't pretend anymore and gave an evil laugh. She said, "You're trying to scare me off, don't you? How hard can that be? You've done it. I can also do it. I'm so much better than you. I have so many followers and I have so much better dressing sense than you." While ranting out this, she closed the live video. She was pissed off at me for grilling her on live video, but she didn't realize what damage it had done to her. She said, "Game on for the baby." I smiled with a straight face. She left. My friend recorded the entire live session. She wrote a long post pointing out how Tiffany and her mother have been forcing me to have a child and give it to her as a birthday gift. I meticulously pointed out all the red flags as to why Tiffany cannot be trusted with a child. Her answers were enough for people to understand what a craphead woman she was. I mentioned all the other details about Tiffany that were not covered in her answers. I tagged her in that post and released it post-midnight after the princess went to sleep. She would wake up the next day afternoon, and by the time she untagged herself, the post would have reached thousands of people. As expected, my post blew up, thanks to Tiffany's followers. Tagging her in the post helped. Her followers trolled her immensely as to how someone with such a low IQ could even exist on the planet. One of the comments read, "Forget about being a mother. This woman shouldn't be left free alone on the streets." After this online battle, my mother-in-law calls me. Before she could say anything, I said, "Before you utter a word, let me tell you that you're being recorded, and I'm not going to hesitate to post it publicly." My God, she hung up and never called back. Neither did I get a call from the spoiled princess because I told mother-in-law that I'm going to record all the calls and chats from them, and if they ever try to create trouble at my house, I'm going to record that too. It was so satisfying to put them in their place. My husband and I are still laughing, reading the comments from the trollers in the sister-in-law's video. It's just so hilarious. Come on, trying to smear your name on social media? That's like bringing a rubber knife to a sword fight and then trying to pull the wool over everyone's eyes with her fake baby craze. Ha! But oh boy, did she get a taste of her own medicine when you flipped the script on her live video? Watching her stumble through her delusional plans for motherhood was pure gold. And let's not forget your masterstroke with the midnight post. Tagging her in that truth bomb was like dropping a truth bomb right in the middle of her fantasy land. The way her followers turned on her, priceless. And as for your mother-in-law, well, looks like she finally got the message loud and clear. Nothing like a little recording threat to send her running for the hills. So here's to you standing tall against the tyranny of entitled in-laws. Keep slaying, OP. The world needs more warriors like you. Bravo. Let's conclude the story shortly. After that live video debacle, Tiffany's online presence took a nosedive. Brands dropped her, followers dwindled, and her dream of being a mommy influencer went down the drain. It seems she finally got a taste of reality, a reality where babies aren't accessories and motherhood isn't a photo shoot. As for my mother-in-law, the silence from her end speaks volumes. I guess the threat of public exposure was enough to clip her wings. It's been peaceful ever since, a peace I cherish dearly. My husband and I are closer than ever, laughing at the absurdity of it all. We've learned that sometimes you have to fight fire with fire, even if that fire is fueled by delusion and entitlement. So here's to strong boundaries, sanity, and the realization that babies are not and never will be birthday presents. The end. After experiencing the full journey of our story, we'd love to hear your thoughts. How did the story resonate with you? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay blessed. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next story.
Alright, everyone's presentations are done. Nick, the manager, said as he tried to move the discussion forward. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me and began to speak. There's apparently someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. His lackey, Mike, of course, agreed with Nick. I'm leaving. After leaving the meeting room, I started to shut down my computer. I noticed that an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking, there's no point in speaking up, no one will listen, I went home quietly. The next day, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. He was staring at his computer screen, his face pale. "Nick, is something wrong?" Mike looked at the screen with him. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Knowing the reason for Mike's distress, I thought to myself, serves them right. My name is Adam. My mother passed away when I was in the 9th grade, and I was raised by my father. Well, you could hardly call it being raised. After my mother passed, my father changed. He drowned his sorrows in alcohol, and though he still went to work, he squandered our living expenses on horse racing. Because of that, I had to start working part-time as soon as I entered high school. Every month, I went to the convenience store with bills in hand that couldn't be auto-deducted from my father's account. Even though I endured it because I didn't want to be alone, I reached my limit in my second year of high school and dropped out. I found a live-in job at a distant inn. Thank you for everything. The day I left home, my father, still staring at the TV, spoke. Take care. That was our last conversation. Back then, 18 wasn't the age of majority, so I needed my father's permission to work, and I couldn't hide my place of employment. Yet, my father never visited me even once. I kept working just to survive, and before I knew it, I was 42. Years of hard work paid off, and I was transferred to the headquarters. I was thrilled to be recognized by the company, as I thought I'd be working in the field until retirement due to my lack of formal education. Listen up. Our work can change the future of our employees. Don't drag us down. On my first day after the transfer, Nick, dressed in an expensive suit, spoke sternly. There was a reason for this. Our inn was located in a prominent tourist destination, known so well that everyone in the state could sing its commercial jingle. At its peak, we had 5 locations within the state. But that was long ago. Due to financial difficulties and aging facilities, only the place where I had worked for many years and the original establishment remained. I was prepared to lose my job anytime, but now there was a glimmer of hope. With the rise of social media, the tourist area where the inn was located started gaining attention again. Depending on how hard the sales department, where I was transferred, worked, we could either thrive or be forced to give up this prime location to the new hotel chains continuously popping up. For Nick, who had switched careers from another industry to strengthen our sales, this was a battle he couldn't afford to lose. I understood why he had to be strict. I will do my best. Nick sneered at my enthusiastic declaration. Did you not hear what I said? I'm sorry. I thought I was listening carefully. Out of habit from years of customer service, I apologized reflexively, though I had no idea what had offended him. Someone was watching me with a smirk. In this department, there are those who are expected to excel and those who have been shoved here because they have nowhere else to go. You are the latter. It was Mike, the section chief. He's 7 years younger, at 35. But he was called to headquarters much earlier than I was and had been moving around within the headquarters ever since. I'm not jealous, but I can't accept that he's my boss. Graduating from a prestigious university, he has an unusually high pride and caused many problems as a newbie, making things very difficult for me when I was the front desk leader. When I found out Mike was transferred to the sales department a month before me, I was disheartened. Mike is right. With just a middle school diploma, there's not much you can do. Don't even think about achieving results. As if I didn't exist, Nick remarked, I'm thirsty. Mike eagerly ran to the coffee maker. It seems Mike is Nick's lackey. I regretted being happy about my transfer to headquarters, wishing I had stayed on site forever. Send a direct mail to every company on this list by the end of the day. Nick only assigned me tasks that even a new graduate could handle. What? There are over 1,000 companies. You want me to send to all of them by today? Yes, if you and your fellow misfits split the work, even those with nowhere else to go should finish by today. I glanced at the employees typing away expressionlessly. They were worn out from customer service, only thinking about leaving on time, or were women reassigned after having children, with zero motivation for work. Even Sam, a new graduate from the same university as Mike, who was supposed to be among the expected achievers, had no enthusiasm for the job, having joined the company wanting to do customer service. I don't care what they say, I plan to quit any time, he said. Only Nick and Mike were highly motivated, making all the decisions between the two of them. I originally only wanted to work at the inn to survive and had no particular attachment to this job. I swallowed my words, thinking I had no right to reprimand them. About a month after the transfer, Nick told us with a frustrated look. To commemorate the 50th anniversary, we've decided to create a plan exclusive for one group per day. Originally, Mike and I were supposed to come up with it, but our president, Mr. Thompson, insists on hearing everyone's opinions. So, you all get a chance. As Nick explained, Mike began handing out prints. Make sure not to embarrass Nick. If your ideas are half-baked, you'll have to redo them. It seemed that they had printed his handwritten notes by Mr. Thompson, which included several questions and a section for free responses. It made sense why Nick had to seek our input, given that all responses had to be submitted to Mr. Thompson. We were given a week to think about it, and a meeting was scheduled to compile our ideas. My plan is to let guests enjoy both the old and modern America. Nick began the presentations. Guests would watch a master confectioner at a nearby traditional sweet shop make sweets in front of them. The welcome drink would be premium tea in a bottle. Nick's plan was certainly attractive. After his presentation, Nick called on us to present in the order we were seated. Just as I stood up for my turn. All right, everyone's presentations are done. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me. There's someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. He was likely talking about me. I joined the company as a part-timer and was made a full-time employee when I turned 20. That was 20 years ago, so Nick and Mike probably had no chance to know until recently. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. After that, Nick kept creating opportunities to solicit everyone's opinions, purposefully excluding me from speaking. The meeting unexpectedly heated up and went past the scheduled end time. A few people asked to leave, and the discussion continued with the remaining few. Still here? Normally, you'd leave in that situation. Though I had no attachment to the job initially, hearing kind words from customers made me want to make them happier. For someone like me, with nowhere to go, the inn was my home and customer service was my life. I felt pathetic about my current self. I'm leaving. I left the conference room and started shutting down my computer. I noticed an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking no one would listen to what I had to say anyway, I quietly went home. The next day, while preparing the DM as instructed, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. In his haste to stand up, he hit his knee on the desk. He stared at his computer screen, his face pale. Nick! What's wrong? Mike, thinking he should be the first to rush over, approached Nick while still wearing his coat. He peered at the screen with Nick. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Who is responsible for this company? Nick, more irritated than ever, asked, and Mike answered without checking. Probably Sam. Sam wasn't there because he was attending a morning training session for new hires. Nick gave up on getting angry and returned his gaze to the screen. They were looking at an email that arrived right after the end of the working day yesterday. Apparently, no one, including me, had checked it before leaving. The email was from a large company that used us for their annual employee trips. The president and executives of that company also frequently used our services personally. President of the company, Mr. Mason himself, had declared that neither he nor his company would ever use our services again. Well, some companies cancel their employee trips or stop using our services due to financial struggles. Let's just move on. Mike kept wiping the sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief. Knowing why Mike was so agitated, I quietly watched their interaction. Do you know how much revenue we get from that company? We can find other guests to fill the rooms, but we'll lose the banquet costs, gift shop revenue, rental car fees, and more. Moreover, the gifts were supposed to be prepared by the traditional confectionery shop involved in Nick's proposed plan. If it's known that we incurred such a huge loss at this critical time, Nick's position in the company would be jeopardized. Nick took a deep breath, seemingly trying to calm himself. All right, Mike. Go to New York right now and apologize to Mr. Mason. What? You're coming with me, right? I have urgent work to do. I trust you, which is why I'm entrusting this to you. Please. Mike, believing Nick's sincerity, agreed with a determined look on his face, saying, "Yes. That's Nick for you." Even if Mike went to apologize, Nick would shift all the blame onto him if the client didn't change their mind. Well, it was Mike's fault to begin with, so it served him right. About 3 hours later, Sam answered a call from somewhere and repeatedly apologized, saying, "I'm very sorry." Everyone watched to see what was happening. After ending the call, he informed Nick with a weary tone. When Mike arrived at the client's company, he only made things worse, further infuriating Mr. Mason. He was demanding, "Get his boss here immediately." It was no wonder Sam was exhausted, dealing with such a call right after returning from training. "What is that idiot doing?" "All right, Adam, you're coming with me. If sacrificing Mike didn't work, then I must be next." Normally, I'd want to refuse at all costs, but I saw an opportunity in this situation. "If I can be of assistance, I'd be happy to join you." I obediently followed Nick, and we flew to New York. When we introduced ourselves at the reception, it became clear how serious the situation was, as the receptionist personally escorted us to the president's office. Angry voices leaked through the door, making both Nick and me uneasy. "Excuse me. I'm Nick, the supervisor. I understand my subordinate has caused you trouble, and I deeply apologize." Nick, with his experience in the corporate world, knew enough to offer an apology before excuses. However, his customer service skills left much to be desired. I sighed as I saw Mike trembling like a small dog in the corner of the room. "What kind of training are you giving your subordinates?" Mr. Mason glared at Nick with a red face. The intensity of his gaze made even Nick take a step back. Regrettably, I joined this company only 2 years ago and was unaware of Mike's issues. I should have identified his shortcomings sooner. Indeed, I should have realized sooner. No sensible person would come to apologize and then give a lengthy presentation on the drawbacks of not using their in. Nick froze, his mouth slightly open. Suspecting the worst, I picked up the documents that had fallen to the floor. It seemed Mike hastily prepared these documents on the plane, listing the disadvantages. Disadvantage 1: if you change the venue for the company trip, employees might suspect it's for cost-cutting reasons, leading to a negative impression. Reading it aloud half-jokingly, Nick snatched the papers from my hand and checked the contents with a furious expression. Among the stack of documents was a receipt from a nearby convenience store's copy machine. I felt a pang of dread, hoping he hadn't shown the receipt as well. What do you think he said when I asked what kind of nerve he had to do this? I'm very sorry." Faced with the dire situation, Nick must have thought there was nothing left to do but apologize. In a voice smaller than I'd ever heard from him, he uttered words of apology. He said, "I'm a Harvard graduate. I don't believe I said anything wrong." "Mike, what have you done?" Forgetting his plan to pin the blame on Mike, Nick yelled loudly, even in front of Mr. Mason. "I didn't do anything wrong." "You're still saying that? Look at him." Mike pointed at me with a shaking hand. "I was assigned to headquarters in my 20s and now I'm a section chief. This guy only made it to headquarters at 42. Everything I've done proves I was right. So why are we losing the contract?" Having said his piece, Mike collapsed to the floor. "Of course. You were sent there because you had nowhere else to go." Mike never expected to hear such words from someone he looked down upon. He lunged at me, and Nick hurriedly stepped in to stop him. "Mr. Thompson told me Mike is a quick thinker, and to take good care of him." There's no way he was pushed aside. "Don't make things worse here." "He didn't say quick thinker, he said only quick-witted, didn't he?" I don't remember that part." I recalled the many troubles Mike caused when he was a newbie. When Mike was on the front line, his pride was so high that he never apologized to customers. Customer service, especially in our job, doesn't work alone. It brings both good and bad situations. If the front staff or housekeepers made mistakes, or the cleaning company didn't properly clean a room, one had to apologize to the customers regardless of personal fault. Mike, in such situations, would never apologize, insisting he wasn't at fault. This often angered customers, and as the front desk leader, I frequently had to apologize on his behalf. He caused complaints and disrupted operations, which is why he was quickly moved to headquarters. In departments where he didn't interact directly with customers, his quick thinking was beneficial and things went well. But it seemed his flaws were starting to show. Corporate reservations are supposed to be entered into the system by the sales representative. But a quick check yesterday revealed that more than 10 items were missing from the client's reservation. The handover document clearly stated what needed to be prepared. Why didn't you enter it into the system? Why do we have to give them special treatment? Filling rooms near the banquet hall, setting up all the food in advance. Specifying the brand of wine, they're too demanding. No wonder he always angered customers, I thought, feeling a headache coming on. Grouping them in rooms near the banquet hall is for our benefit too. It makes it easier for the staff to set up beds and serve breakfast since everyone's schedule is synchronized. As for the other requests, Mr. Mason suggested them to lighten our load. I didn't know that. Nick finally seemed to realize that Mike was the one who had angered the client. What did you say to them? I just told them we wouldn't give them special treatment anymore. We shouldn't waste effort on things that don't bring in money. I was utterly exasperated at his lack of understanding of customer service. Of course, we shouldn't comply with unreasonable demands. But carrying over successful practices from past stays makes customers feel remembered and enhances their experience. Good memories encourage repeat visits. That's part of our job. I looked down at Mike, who was sitting on the floor. In our job, nothing is a waste. Mr. Thompson likely moved you to the sales department, hoping you'd finally understand this. How do you think he feels now that you've failed to meet his expectations? Mike, tears in his eyes, fled the president's office. I was amazed he still hadn't apologized. You have it tough, Adam. It's okay, we're all employees of the same company. I deeply apologize for this disrespectful incident. Especially after all the care you've shown us. If it weren't for you, Adam, I really would have stopped staying here. When I heard you were moving to the sales department, I was willing to reconsider if you handled it. Seeing us talk so amicably, Nick's face contorted. Do you two know each other? Adam's service is excellent. I always requested him specifically. Normally, we don't accept specific staff requests, but we made an exception for Mr. Mason, adjusting my shifts accordingly. He had personally stayed at our hotel just before my transfer, and during casual conversation, I mentioned, I'm moving to the sales department soon. If I hadn't told him then, things could have been much worse. Please continue to take care of us. I look forward to it. On the return flight, Nick awkwardly offered me a can of beer. It's still working hours. Of course, I had no intention of forgiving him for a single beer. Nick might try to pin everything on Mike and avoid any consequences. While pondering this, a startling fact came to light. Nick, the tea bottles for the plan have arrived. I handed Nick a bottle labeled with our inn's name. They look good. What are you talking about? These are plastic bottles. I had assumed we would use the trendy, high-end bottling tea. But what arrived were ordinary plastic bottles of tea with customized labels. The only unique aspect was the label, which had the inn's name, making it look customized. Upon further investigation, I discovered that a substantial amount of money was set to be paid to the tea company. It was priced like bottling tea. Does this plastic bottle really cost $100 each? The tea inside is specially blended for us. The extra cost is for that. Wouldn't it be better to use another tea company? Or is there a specific reason we must use this one? As Nick continued to make excuses, I showed him a printed email. I informed the tea company's president, Mr. Mitchell, that we discovered irregular payments and he confessed. He said you two were high school classmates and planned to split the extra money. That idiot. Why did he confess? That's not important. You should worry about yourself, this could turn into a police matter. Opening the bottle cap, I suggested. How about calming down with this tea? It supposedly has a relaxing effect. Nick drank the tea frantically. In the following days, decisions were made about their fates. Mike was reassigned to the General Affairs Department, with no chance of transfer or promotion, as per Mr. Thompson's orders. As for Nick, since the payment to the tea company hadn't yet been made, he narrowly avoided legal trouble. Instead, he was encouraged to leave the company, and to avoid further complications, Nick submitted his resignation. Rumor has it that connections between HR departments have made it difficult for him to find new employment. Even though it was good to have those two gone, something unexpected happened in the sales department. Everyone became motivated and united in refining the 50th anniversary plan. In the end, my plan was adopted. We collaborated with the Tourist Information Center to provide personalized guides. The plan, tailored to the number of guests, was truly special for the 50th anniversary. Hey, is Adam's family coming to stay? I immediately booked that special plan for my family. Sam noticed it on the reservation list and quickly picked up on it. Yes, I'm inviting my father. That's great. I might invite my parents too. I lacked the courage to face my father just as Adam. But here, with the confidence Mr. Mason praised, I felt ready. The 50th anniversary plan was a perfect opportunity to reconnect with my father. I hoped to bring back the days when we could laugh together as we once did.